Hi, everybody. It's Falcon Napier. Welcome to the Oracle of the Self. This, I do believe, is our 35th hour of this coaching and training program that we've been doing. And so pretty much I've gone through all the basic stuff that I would want to go over in a program, even though we've done it in a rather random sort of way. We've still touched upon everything. So I thought today I'm going to put you guys a little bit to the test. And so let me start by reviewing with you some of the things that we've been doing. So on the screen right now, I do believe you're seeing something that says the Oracle of the Self Organic Training Series. That's what I'm kind of labeling these 35 hours. It'll be 36 or 38 by the time this actually gets deployed. But nevertheless, this is where I'm putting all of those. Now, I'd already built this in a different location, but I have to rebuild it from scratch to get it to where we want it to be. But just to give you an idea about what it looks like, I'll show you. This is what the library looks like. By the way, you guys are coming to our membership website now. You'll see that under these different products, if it says, let's do this, you have full access to it. You just click on let's do this or click anywhere on it. And it takes you where do you want to go. I'm still trying to figure out why it chopped off my graphics. So there's a few cosmetic things I want to do, but mostly I'm at the stage now where I'm just populating all of the resource pages so that all the different levels of membership can get there. So down here, I put up the first 3 of these coaching sessions that we've done. So this goes back, what, 35, 40 weeks ago, by the time you really look at it. And you'd be able to just click on that training session. It comes up. Oh, I guess I have to log in. Okay, it comes up, and at the top, you can click to the link to the recording. You can take the self-assessment, watch the video, you can download the transcript. Here's a little bit of a description about what we did during that session. It was all about exploring authenticity. And then the instructions I want to give people is take the assessment first, do that, then watch the video while you're looking at your assessment. And then you can download the transcript if you prefer to read the lesson, read the webinar, or to help you with note taking. So my goal is to replicate this for all of the 35 lessons that we've done so far. So questions, comments about this before I show you the next little slice of the pie?
Looks great.
Yeah. Looks pretty good. There's a few things I learned, these things seem like they're so simple when you watch a tutorial and then you start doing, go like, wait, what? So I thought, well, I could embed the video here, the YouTube video, but then it looks really weird and they're promoting other videos and it's just real. I don't like it. It also comes up in very low resolution when you click on it for embed. Now, someone can manually change the resolution to have a sharper view of what's going on, but it defaults to this horrible, borderline unwatchable resolution. On the other hand, if I continue to do what I've done here, I have simply turned this into a link to the YouTube page where this video is, and then it comes up full resolution, and I think it's better. So that's what I ended up deciding to do, not embed the videos, just give you guys a link to be able to watch these videos. Okay, now another thing to know is that I'm adding another section to this, and that's the main subject for today's call. Recently, we've been talking about the wheel of life and doing these change grids around life areas and life situations. And I shared with you guys that I wanted to put together one specifically to talk about the life situations. And so that's going to be the Oracle of the Self explorations. And for each of these, the first one's dealing with difficult people. What I wanted to do, and by the way, that's an embedded video. I'll replace that with a graphic, but I need to put in an intro video, the profile link, the registration link for the debrief, the article that we've done, an interpretation video that would be a recording of the live webinar where we actually go through the results, whatever handouts are involved, and encourage people to go for private readings. So I'm building all that out, but I can't build it until we've done the first one. And so, because you got to have something to populate in those different areas. And so that brings me to what I wanted to show you guys for today. And this is, again, going to be one of your big sort of puzzles to fill out. So I decided to create the profile for the dealing with difficult people life situation. So hopefully you guys can see this on screen pretty well. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So, life situation number one, dealing with difficult people. So if we click on that, we're still building it so we can edit whatever we want. By the way, if you guys are using your access to the ChangeWorks system, and almost all of you do have access to it. If you don't, just let me know. You just need to set up for it's a free membership, and you can get to all this. But nevertheless, this is the profile, and what I've done is I've decided to populate the activity list with the 21 mission critical activities that we talked about in the article. So do you guys remember seeing an article on this? Did I already distribute that to everybody? Or is
I
that
don't think
new?
so.
All right, well then give me half a jiffy here. Okay, that's not what I want. One moment, please. Chat amongst yourselves. Yeah. All right, that's not it. Where am I? Who am I? This one. Oh, you guys are chatting amongst yourselves. You guys you crack me up. You do, you do, you do. I dragged it to my desktop, but now I can't seem to find it. Oh, rude. Okay.
Courageous, practice the poem. We have been mostly concerned with tensions. Look at the mission critical activities. Don't ignore any breakdowns.
All right. Well, I'll have to find it and give it to you guys so I can drag the file. Oh, no. Hang on just 1 second. Let me open up the chat screen. Sorry, I'm brand new to Zoom. I've never done one of these calls before. All right. This is going to everyone. I'm going to send you the original article, not the little glamorous one that I did, but I just chatted over to everyone. Life situation number one, dealing with difficult people. And in this, you're going to find a lot of the little pieces that we use as developing it. So where does this fit into the different life areas? So dealing with difficult people is something you're likely to encounter in social relationships. It also falls under the life area of interpersonal communication and personal growth. And so we ended up coming up with this list of 21 mission critical activities. We might have done some of this with you guys, but I think we did most of it with the Circle of Brilliance on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But just following that, you'll find there's the full article on how to, all about dealing with difficult people, talking about ramifications. The article is some 10 pages long because it's was again, kind of like my shape or my outline for doing some kind of like a webinar or some kind of a training program, or use this as a structured coaching approach for clients who are dealing with difficult people and want to learn how to do it a bit better. At the end of this, you'll also find a summary of the article, a short overview of the article right there, a summary, and then you'll find the comprehensive activity list at the end of it, which is probably a good 50 plus activities. So I've given you a lot more than you needed to have, but that's where this all comes from. So now we're going to be focusing in on this ChangeGrid and this activity list. And this is the question that I want you guys to answer as we work our way through this. I'm going to read an activity, and then I'm going to ask you to rate where you are on the ChangeGrid when it comes to that activity. So we'll do that piece first. So the first mission critical activity is managing your own emotions, biases, and emotional triggers before you engage with a difficult individual. So how do you rate your ability to do that? So right now, how do you rate your ability to manage your own stuff before you engage with a difficult person? Your ability ranges from a low of 0 to a high of 12. How would you rate your ability to perform that task? So just get that number in head, wherever you are. And then the second question is, how challenging, how difficult do you think it is for you to do such a thing? All right, so you should have ended up now with a couple of coordinates. So why don't you guys just share with me what your coordinates are? So anybody, what'd you come up with?
9,
6,
8.
8.
Okay, we got a 6-8, which is up here a little bit. And again, you guys have been seeing a change grid long enough. You should kind of have a sense what's the general vibe at 6-8. We're inside of the green circle. We're a little bit up and a little bit out. In fact, equal bits up and out. So we're moving in that direction where we would be more of the motivator, the influencer. And so, yeah, so, and we're getting to the high point of power, if you will. So there is a little dose of a sense of increased urgency around doing this. Now, what was the other coordinate pair I heard?
9, 8.
9 and 8. 9 and 8 puts you right here on the border between the amiable driver and the analytical driver, right there on the border between those two. Solid ability, but you see it challenging enough, yet you would be under the heart line, which says that you feel like you know what you're doing pretty well to, go out there and do it. Yeah.
6, 10.
6 and 10. 6 and 10 puts you right up here, continuing from the 6 and 8 answer. 6 and 10 means that you rated the level of challenge higher, which moves you now up into power stress. So there's a greater sense of urgency that's coming along there. And remember that humans have a tendency, whenever they are in a situation where their ability is not sufficient to handle the challenge that they face, to substitute actual ability with charm and charisma and personality and all that sort of a thing. So this would say that when it comes to you dealing with your own stuff before you do it, you find it rather challenging to turn off you so that you can focus on whatever is going on. So this might come across as a little bit too eager to whatever the case may be. Okay, so anybody else want to throw coordinates out for a second, and then we're going to, what was that?
10, 7.
10 and 7, is that what I heard, Dragon?
Yes.
10 and 7. 10 and 7 puts you right here, an amiable analytical driver. Very interesting plotting. So you're an analytic. First of all, you're a driver. You're in this big outward quadrant. You're an analytical driver. You're in this little section here, but you're leaning on the in-grid side of things. And so that means that you're going to do it. That's the driver energy ruling the day. You're going to do it, and you've got your thoughts together. You've organized your thinking. That's that analytical secondary energy, and you're going to come at it with a good kind of heart space for doing it. Now, that particular activity is though about getting your own stuff together, and so.
Can you show us the item again?
Yeah, the activity is managing my emotions, biases, and emotional triggers before I engage with a difficult individual.
Okay, I'm reading it differently.
Yeah. Tell me how you interpret it, because there is this thing in the world of ChangeWorks. It's called tension override. Tension override speaks to the very common phenomenon where we present someone with a specific activity, but as they ponder this activity, something else is stimulated, triggered inside of them, and they end up kind of unknowingly replacing this activity with some other interpretation of this activity or a specific scenario around this activity, and the answer then based on that, instead of on the activity as phrased.
I'm going to change mine.
To what would you like?
I'm going to say 8,
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely.
7.
8
I
and
would say
7.
for 9.
Yeah,
All
that
right.
was mine as well. 8 and
8
7.
and 7. So I hear
Yeah,
you're like around here, this general vicinity. 8, 7, 8, 8, maybe 8, 9.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Around
much
there.
more like you, Tom.
So still a driver, right? That you're a driver energy. So what does the driver energy mean? What do you want?
Get
I
it
may
done.
go an 8 or a 9.
Action and results.
You want some action. You want some result. You're a driver energy. You want to make
Absolutely.
something happen. But you've got that secondary energy of
Oh.
amiable. How does
Yeah,
that affect your driver energy?
And
Right.
not
So
triggered.
I'm changing it again
Yeah,
based on
his
his,
ability is definitely higher than that.
Okay.
what do you think it is?
I think it's like a 9 or a 10 in ability.
All right. All right, all right, all right. Okay, so you guys are all plotting in this general vicinity. And so that all bodes very well for you getting your own thoughts together before you go out and embark upon this intervention that you're going to do. So the real question becomes, what would the ideal location be? The desired rating? Where do we hope that someone who has this activity very well under control is going to plot on the change grid? Or to look at it another way, what location on the change grid would support you in doing this activity absolutely best?
I think
Now,
it would be in the green circle.
you think it would be in the green circle, all right? So
Like-
what else do you guys want to throw out? Let me go back here. What else do you think would contribute to an ideal location for doing this? So this is about taking care of you before you get out there taking care of the situation.
And that's why I said within the green circle, at least in my mind, because that before.
Yeah, so I'll do it this way. So
Yeah,
Brian, inside the green circle, you want to be over here on the in-grid side of things?
You're
No,
right.
on the
Yeah.
more outside.
Okay, the out-grid side of things, but you want to be inside the green circle.
Right.
So, all right.
That's what I'm
Okay.
thinking. Because
Anybody
like
else?
before an emotion happened, there needs to be a certain amount of awareness
Mm-hmm.
of internal environments and external.
Yes.
Right. And so to your point, you guys were probably just living your life inside the circle, maybe even right at the PowerPoint. And then something happened and it said to you, all right, I've got to go have a conversation with this person. I got to, I'm going to have to deal with whatever it happens to be. So we say the first mission critical activity is to get your own mind in the right place. And so what we were suggesting, I gave coordinates 8, 8 as our ideal location. So let's look at 8, 8 and see why I might have chosen that location. So Brian, you'll see it's right on the edge of the green circle.
Mhm.
So why am I okay with it being there instead of further in grid? What would be the difference between being at 7, 7 and being 8, 8?
Easy to do.
Hmm.
7 and 7 versus 8, 8.
Well, you'd be able to influence people if you're there. You'd
I'm-
spend a little bit more time trying to get your point across in a very measured way.
At eight,
Very
eight.
good. Very good. Yeah, look at remember how often we've said what happens between the green circle and the red circle?
Life is lived.
Life is lived. I'm about to go and talk to somebody who's harsh and my mellow. I would say that falls in the category of dealing with where life is lived kind of a situation. So my concern is that if I'm too far in grid, or if you're plotting too far in grid about this activity, you might do this all in your head. You might sort it all out, get yourself all at peace, but never step out to really go and do the task.
So that 8, 8, you're more positioned for action. You're
Right,
action
you're more
oriented.
driven to do it, to get out there and do it. Because if you think about this is the driven analytical scratch that, the driven amiable driver.
Ah, got
You
it.
want to get it done. You want it to come from a good heart space. That's what that amiable energy is all about. But you got to go get it done. And so that's why I would favor 8, 8 for the idea. Now, why would I not want 9, 9?
Because you're probably doing it out there, but you're not so concerned about the impact of the results or the action that you're
Yeah,
taking.
yeah.
Yeah, or how the dynamic's going to flow. Because what's my survival instinct if I'm in the danger zone?
Flee or fight?
This
Oh.
would be fight. Flee is up grid, fight is out here. So if I'm too far out grid, as I'm getting, look what it says. This isn't talking about that other person yet. It's managing my emotions, biases, and emotional triggers before engaging with a difficult individual. If I'm out here at 9, 9 or 10, 10, do you think I'm being as thoughtful and considerate about myself? Am I really, thinking about where my energy is before I walk into this, how my filters, my biases, my judgments, my values might actually be at the core of what the conflict is really all about?
Mhm.
Get the idea? Someone
Yes.
that's far outgraded is very driven. I mean, they're in a hurry. to go and take care of this. And so the counsel of the ChangeGrid would be, you guys are all in a good sort of energy. And again, when the time comes, I'll ask you guys to actually fill this out, and we can look at your physical results, and you could get your results immediately when you do fill it out. But nevertheless, I think that what I'm hoping is happening here is that you are starting to realize, if not exercise, your realization that one slight movement means something more significant that you would think one slight movement means. Are we there? Are you guys with me on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a difference between 7.7 and 8.8 and 9.9. And if you were a brand new student with who went to a 2-hour webinar, I wouldn't expect you to be processing this kind of a question at this level of depth. I mean, if I got you in the general vicinity, I'd be happy as happy could be. But you guys have gone through literally the amount of training someone goes through when they get certified. But again, you've done it in a jumbled order. So I don't know what that means, but nevertheless, I know you've got the knowledge base for it. So I want you to really be studying these subtleties. All right. So let's do another one. Now, again, the real procedure we're going to be using here is for you to figure out where you are first. And so activity number 2, we're not going to do all of them, obviously, but activity number 2, evaluating whether interactions with difficult people are worth my time and energy. All right. How often have you guys just decided that there is a difficult person, and yeah, you could give it a try or whatever, but it's just not worth the bother? Has anybody been there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. And so the question for you is, how do you rate your ability to evaluate whether interactions with difficult people are worth your time and energy? How do you rate your ability to do that? And how challenging is it for you to do that evaluation?
Oh God, I'm going to say 10 by 4.
10 and 4. Okay, so we're down here a little bit. Southern part of power apathy. Natural movement is downgrid, so even further downgrid. And so this is something that you can do almost, I want to say, it doesn't take a whole lot of time, energy, thought for you to make that evaluation.
Right.
Yep,
Yeah.
so you're just doing it. Yep.
It's a reflex.
Yeah, okay, reflex. There you go. Right. Because think about what's happening. The further downgrid we go, we know that processes, procedures, routines, habits are getting stronger and stronger. Ultimately, they become our strengths. This is where mastery, if such a thing exists, can occur. And so, yeah, you get it. This is another day at the office. And look where you really are in relation to the green and red circles. You're between there. So one of the ways that we can go about living life with difficult people is just not worth the bother. Why participate? And maybe as we all get older, how many of you will like read something in the community section of a newspaper and go like, I'm tempted to write a comment. And then you go like, it's not worth the bother.
Yeah.
It's not worth the ink.
You know, it would do one of two things. It would do absolutely nothing, or it would cause an irrational person to respond to you. Now you're caught in a fight.
Right.
Yeah.
And there now I'm trying to have, deal with a difficult person in a format that only comes out once every week or two. And
Yeah.
I guess it is weekly, but anyway, you guys get the idea. Not all battles are worth fighting. And so that's really good. But again, the activity here is doing the evaluation. Now, Tom is plotting very much in the analytical quadrant, right? The analytical energy is resolving, or rather is ruling this situation, but he's a driven analytical. Even more specifically, he's an amiable, driven analytical. An amiable, driven analytical figures it out. That's the analytical energy. It wants to do something about it, or sees that there's something that could be done about it. Remember, we're delegating down here. Maybe someone else should confront them, and I'm staying out of it. But they're amiable there. You're taking care of you. If you're not taking care of them, you're still taking care of whatever's important to you. That heart element is still involved in whatever's going on. Okay, Tim, did you just say you're at 12?
12 is 12?
Is that real? Go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a,
Listen, I do not have a lot of patience for difficult folks.
all right.
I have actually turned down contracts with difficult folks
Mhm.
because I just choose not to. Now, I'm exaggerating with the 12-12, but yeah, that is something that I probably would evaluate to a fault, because you might then say, well, geez, Tim, you turned down some money. But the
Yeah.
money is not the greatest value in that situation.
Right. Yeah, you do this business long enough and you realize that not all the business you could have is necessarily worth having.
And see, for me, similar to what Tim was just talking about and what Tom described, I'm probably at a 10, but the conundrum for me in terms of challenge is sometimes because of position, I have to deal with them. Like I
You
just,
don't have a choice.
yeah, so I'm
right.
probably like a 10 and 6 or something like that, I would think, maybe.
Okay. Well, again, we want to make sure that we're staying as clear as we can about the activity as phrased. So evaluating whether interactions with difficult people are worth my time and energy. Brian, how do you rate your ability to perform that evaluation?
Oh, definitely, it's high. It's like 10.
Okay. And how challenging is it to perform that evaluation?
Not that challenging, but I always look at the bigger picture. So I would say about a 6. Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying 10 and 6.
Yeah.
10 and 6, sorry, 10 and 6 put you right there. And so again, you're on the border between an analytical driver and a driven analytical. So you still want to do something about it. Not a bad place to be. Not a bad place to be at all. Because look, the word evaluate alone tells you what the energy is you're really looking for, right? So
Right.
there has to have,
Analytical, right.
there's got to be an analytical energy. But because you're doing it with a purpose in mind, you can pretty much assume that, look at the name of this thing, dealing with difficult people. The moment the verb is dealing, where are you at? Upgrade, outgrid, downgrade, ingrid? You're dealing with something.
Outgrid.
It's outgrade. So we
Outgrade.
already know that the driver energy is likely to be primary when we are, evaluating. But then evaluate tells me the secondary energy is going to be analytical, right? And so
Right.
let's look where that would put you. So maybe an analytical driver. If you view the challenge as being a bit lower, you could be right on the border there, but I still have a driver energy and I still have an analytical energy. In fact, do you guys realize that if you're right on this purple line, you have equal amounts of analytical and equal amounts of driver energy?
Mm-hmm.
You're a
Right.
perfect blend right there. Not a bad spot to be.
That's what I like about the verbiage of these activities is what I get from it is it's about choosing your energy, like how you want to play the game. If you have to deal with difficult people, like how
Right.
would you choose to play
Right.
that game? Because you on the other side of that, you have to be able to recover from it or something. You have to deal with the impact of it. So you have to choose the best
Exactly.
thing,
And
to
so
create the net value.
factor this in. If you guys aren't managing your change grid, then your change grid is managing you.
Ooh.
Think about that.
Ooh.
You are wherever you are. And obviously the first step in any kind of a change process is to figure out where you're starting from. So you are where you are. And you just ask yourself 2 quick questions. Obviously, if you're online, you got to answer the questions about size and importance to have the whole picture. But for what we're doing today, ability and challenge is enough to get us in the, where we need to be on the diagram. And so if I'm down here, well, that location is going to impact my ability to perform that particular activity. Is that bad, right, wrong, based on where you are right now? It doesn't feel so bad. But what if you guys said, oh no, my ability to make that decision or to figure that out, maybe I'm a 3 and the challenge is an 11. Does that feel very different to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a good spot to evaluate anything?
No.
No. And so I chose the desired location as 10 and 8. So 10 and 8 would be the expressive analytical driver. Now I just chose that because it's kind of like one of the default locations we pick. I've got no problem at all saying 10 and 7 would be fine, 10 and 6 would be fine. If it starts to drop now into 10 and 5 or 10 and 4, what am I getting a little bit concerned about? What am I losing as I move down grid?
Driver energy.
I'm losing
Yeah.
the driver energy. And so I might end up down here where that reformer or advocate energy is coming into play. What's the reformer or advocate have to say about dealing with someone's a difficult person? I'm in power apathy. These are
Yeah,
all
It can
So
be
you-
negative.
it's not worth it.
Let somebody else do it.
Yeah,
We'll
you
want
delegate.
let somebody else do it. Yes, the world would be better off if someone got so-and-so under control, but I'm not doing it. You know, I could do it because look how smart I am. I know my stuff and it's not all that difficult. I could even tell you how to go and do it. But do I have sufficient tension or sufficient drive to go and do it myself?
No.
And the answer is, as you slip further down grid, that tension, that drive is going to suffer. It's going to be
Right.
diminished, right? And so it's great. You could write a book on the subject, but that doesn't mean you're going to be out there as the fighter that the situation may need. Again, though, this activity was about evaluating something. Even if I move further down grid out of the driver quadrant, my evaluation skills are even better. So I can come up with a remarkable evaluation, an assessment of what's going on all sides of the conflicts. But what do you think about any action being taken to really resolve it?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay, I got to check in. Is this feeling very much like a good review for all of you guys?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let me give you another one. Limiting interactions with consistently draining or toxic individuals.
Oh, I'm an expert at that one.
So this
Yeah.
hey, Brian, I'll just take your numbers.
limiting, and you guys can see where I'm putting desired ratings over here. By the way, when you're building a change grid like this, you need to set the desired locations before you deploy the change grid. If you deploy the change grid, you come back to it and a bunch of people have answered it. You can't come in and add these after the fact. It has to be done before the profile is deployed. So some of you guys that do group profiling don't seem to remember that. So yeah, no, got to do it first. And by the way, I'm thinking if we're going to be using this with the general population, do I need to use the description field and explain what we mean by this activity in greater detail? Or at least so far, are the activities rather self-explanatory?
So far,
So far,
self-explanatory.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to give them a whole bunch of extra stuff to read. It just means it takes longer to fill out the change grid.
More chance of getting confused.
Yeah, exactly. But again, you guys have already experienced tension override. As you hear the activity stated, does your mind stay focused on the activity as stated, or do you evolve into something else? Now, let me tell you, when it comes to being a coach or a counselor of some sort using the change grid, that doesn't matter because we use this as a tool of interaction, a tool of engagement, a tool of conversation. And so as we start to explain where they're at about this activity, they're going to automatically share with us what really was triggered for them when they did this. So it's all cool. It doesn't really matter. It's you again. I know I'm talking very fast, but remember that this is the oracle of the self. This is about you talking to you about you. And so if you recognize that in your own thought processes, you have a pattern to move on from the question at hand, the subject at hand, the issue at hand, and you start to move on to how this activity might be manifesting itself or a specific situation. That's all good stuff. Just recognize that your thoughts have now moved on to a different thing. You have added other activities to the change grid that's in your head. You with me on that? Yep. All right.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I mean, we like it when people respond to the activity as stated. It is more useful to a group profile, but we live in a world where we are stimulating thinking. All right, anyway, go to this one. So again, you got to rate yourself. Limiting interactions with consistently draining or toxic people. think about that while I log in again. By the way, it's just so you guys know that the system will automatically log you out if it doesn't detect any activity for a while. And I wasn't adding anything, so that's probably why it logged me out. But I just want to edit this. Yes. Oh, no, I like the other one better. Oh, no, no. This is fine. Okay. Yeah. So, but it saves your work. So you don't really need to worry too much about losing something if it decides to log you out. By the way, we had to have that feature because of one country, and that's Germany. So Germany has a law. I don't know what the law is, but they're very protective of individual privacy, that sort of thing, probably more so than most other countries I'm aware of. And so that's when things like this have to log out, for the fear that if you were to walk away from your computer and this was still up on your screen, someone might see something that they would consider to be private information. Okay, wait, that's why it does it. All right, so limiting interactions with consistently draining or toxic individuals. How do you rate your ability to limit those interactions? And how challenging do you find it to limit those interactions?
I would say 10
For your ability,
and 8.
10 and 8. All right. So again, that puts you in that analytical driver kind of quadrant. So what does limiting translate into behavior for you? When you're
I had to gamify it for myself, because again, I consider my capacity and ability high, but I have to deal with people in my own way in order to be able to recover effectively from it.
Right.
So,
Well, and let me just add to that. Something you said earlier, you and Andrew were both mentioning that sometimes you can't just avoid them because they're toxic.
right,
You have
right,
to go and do something. And so you plotting here as an expressive analytical driver does put that little bit of personality in there as well.
right.
Otherwise, if you're much further downgrade, you just hit it between the eyes with the facts.
Yeah.
People don't like facts. If you haven't figured that out by now, people are not really happy when you give them facts and disprove the beliefs that they hold so near and dear. So, all right. So who else? Where'd you guys plot?
I'm gonna go the same numbers, 10 and 8.
10 and 8. Okay, we got some more at 10 and 8. Good. So again, everything I've said is still going to hold true there.
I'm a 10 and 7, which isn't much different.
10 and 7, just drop down a little bit. That's fine, a little bit in grid. You would, instead of being expressive around it in the tertiary energy, you'd be amiable around it. So a little bit more caring than enthusiastic, a little bit more coming from a heart space than
How
motivation.
far away from caring can I get on this grid?
Yeah, well, there it is. Okay, and so let's just look at, well, where would this activity be best performed? So when you guys think of an activity like limiting interactions, right there, do you feel like there's a driver energy front and center?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
What's making you feel that driver energy is front and center?
Limiting.
Limiting this is doing something.
Right.
Now you're doing something with this specific population, consistently draining or toxic individuals. And so this is not only limit the interactions, but limit the interactions because why? They're going to drain your energy. They're going to poison your energy or whatever. So you are quite literally and perhaps even willingly walking into harm's way. Does that feel right based on the way this activity is phrased? Walking into harm's way?
And see, my mindset when I'm in that, and this is how I process fear the same way, like I want it over sooner than later. So like I'm going to it, I'm very direct with it. Let's get this thing over with and let me move on.
All righty, you just changed something very significant. Did any of you hear Brian's assessment move on the change grid? He was here at 10 and 8. But just in the words he just shared,
He got more driven.
more driven, right? Because Brian, you said you want to deal with it, you want to deal with it now, you want to get on with it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
right?
but I'm still strategic in it because I know that, in other words, that's why I use the term gamification or
Yeah,
gamifying
yeah,
it
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm dealing with certain people. And so
Mhm.
I'm already in tune with how they are going to respond based
Right,
on past things. And so, but it's
right.
still the mindset of let's do it. I'm not going to
Mhm.
wait around for it.
Yep.
Like if I had to choose between the end of the day or early in the day, I'm meeting with that person early in the day so I can move
Yeah,
on.
get it.
Amen.
Okay. Now, let me draw it to your attention that this activity says limiting interactions. It doesn't say
Mhm.
anything about analyzing, right?
But you have to have analyzed them to know that they're draining you or
And
toxic.
that may be what
That
we
the-
did
that
during
the
number
analysis
2.
is done.
Right.
The activity number 2, you were at 10 and 8 is the ideal location for doing the evaluation. You have now completed the evaluation, and it's time for you to limit those kinds of that kind of interaction with toxic people. That's why my suggestion is 10-10. Why would I say 10-10?
Because it's driven, he's gonna do it, damn it.
Right. And that's, Brian, that's how you
Yeah.
were characterizing, that's how your words were characterizing your thoughts about that. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it over with. You want to get it done first thing in the morning. The time for analysis passed already. You're in the
Yeah.
action mode now there.
Yeah.
And so if you were a little bit further down grid, what happens as we move down grid to speed, what happens to the drive we have around it, you're moving down. And even though you're only moving 2 little spots, there's a big difference between coming at this limiting from the person who's evaluating it versus the person who's doing it. And so for those who are plotting at 10 and 8, what my coaching would really be is, well, what else do you need to figure out before you go and limit this interaction?
Right, and resentment can grow, right? Like you can
Yeah,
start like getting negative about it and this is driving me
right,
crazy.
right. And keep in mind that the further downgrid you go, the further downgrid you go. And what I mean by that is that there is a magnetic kind of pull in all 4 of these directions. As you start to move downgrid, that downgrid magnet is pulling you that way further and faster. And so if you're here at 10 and 8, but you don't decide to go and make it happen, well, tomorrow you might be 10 and 7, or you might be 11 and 7, 11 and 6.
Now you got to add
5.
another F because you got the fuckets.
Yeah, well, exactly. Exactly. And so this is why it's like once your evaluation is complete, we would say when it comes to dealing with difficult people, limiting those interactions it's about boundaries. It's about getting these things in place. First and foremost, I am not going to interact with someone who could poison me or drain my energy unless I need to. And if I do need to, I want to limit that interaction to whatever degree I can. Do I sound particularly amiable?
No.
No. What do I sound?
Driven.
I'm a driven driver around this activity. All
Yeah.
right. Now, again, this exercise today is really about you guys getting very comfortable with what you know about the ChangeGrid. And so now the real question becomes, as you go about integrating the ChangeGrid into your life, whether you're just doing it in your head or on a piece of paper or using the online system, you always have to think about what exactly am I evaluating? What is the activity? So let's jump down a little bit. Let's go to approaching the individual with the intention to have the conversation. So you've decided to limit it. You've made sure you're grounded. Now it's time for you to make that approach. How do you rate your ability to approach an individual with whom you are quite certain difficulties in the conversation are about to arise? How do you rate your ability to approach them?
Wow. It says,
Why would you approach?
what, yeah,
Why would you approach them?
Well, because you need to have the conversation. You've already decided that I've already done these things. I do need to go and talk to them. Even if they are toxic, I still have to go and do it. So you're well grounded. So you're going to have this conversation. You've decided already to have this conversation.
11-8.
11 and 8, is that what I heard, Dragon?
Yeah.
11 and 8.
Who
Look at
said
that. A
Dragon.
driven analytical driver. A driven analytical driver. And so obviously physically we have the ability to approach someone, whether it's on the phone, face to face. So yes, you guys have the ability to do that. The question, I mean, unforeseen circumstances aside, the question is, how challenging is it going to be for you to approach that individual knowing what you're about to talk about?
I got 10 and 11, T.
You got 10 and 11. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. He's got 10 and 11. In the danger zone, we'll be asking you what that's all about in a second. So don't.
That's not going to be a good conversation.
Yeah. Versus where Dragon put himself, which was at 11 and 8. So how might Dragon approach that individual versus how Tim would approach that individual? Who's going to be standing physically closer?
I'd rather deal with.
Well, Tim.
Yeah. Tim, this is a little in your face.
And we're on both sides of the table.
Well, there you are. But this happens plenty of time, particularly, well, forget being someone who's in the middle of the conflict, be the facilitator of the conflict or the moderator, mediator. You're witnessing this drama. And if both people are in the outgrade danger zone, well, what do you think is going to unfold? Now,
Conflict.
yeah, big time, could become fists. Who knows? But on the other hand, if you look where Dragon has plotted, he says 11, I can definitely do it. It's not without its challenges, but I've given this matter my thoughts. I've decided it's worth going after, or I need to go after it. I know that I'm grounded and centered before I do anything here. So now it's time to get the work done, approach the individual. So that's not, I think that's a pretty good place to be. Now, the place that I was advocating for is 9-9.
I'm at 9-8.
9-8, okay. So tell us about 9-8.
Well, when I always guess if I think about it, and then I go and I go first thing in the morning.
Right. And so you're out. So your ability is
nice.
nice and solid. The challenge is, within an easy range. You believe you can handle it quite well. Again, because you rated your ability higher than the challenge, you believe that there is a stronger likelihood of success.
Right. And I define success by either parting amiably and amicably and, high in the street.
Yep.
Or, maybe even resolving something, but my intention is to just shake hands and walk away.
Yeah, there you go. So what needed to be said has been said. It was received the way it was received. If it doesn't impact their behavior in that moment, at least you can say, I've done something that I believe was useful and beneficial for that individual. Now they heard what I had to say. We can shake hands, part friends, and then they'll do whatever they end up doing with that.
Right. Right.
Okay. Now, I'm advocating for 9-9 only because when I approach somebody, that's what it is, approaching the individual with the intention to have a conversation. When I'm approaching somebody, I think, to be prepared to meet them where they are. And so maybe being at 9-9 puts me as a fully balanced driver energy. So I am equally driven driver, expressive driver, amiable driver, analytical driver. I have all of these energies working in balance. And from that point, I can lean or flex in any direction I need to meet them where they are. So for example, if I go there and I'm approaching this individual and I can just pick up that they're having a really bad day, sad day, they're low energy, I might want to lean slightly in grid to do that, or maybe a little upgrade if I want to make a little bit more, happy, enthusiastic, whatever. Maybe if I could already feel the defensiveness is there, I need to lean a little bit out grid. But I know from this place that 9-9 on the change grid is the perfect place for or like, how about this? The default location for any driver activity would be okay here, but ultimately you're going to need to flex. and some directions or some activities are enhanced by your ability to lean in any of these 4 directions as the case at hand requires. Okay. Now, remember, this isn't a game of horseshoes and hand grenades. You know, you don't need to be precisely at this location. That would be the horseshoe kind of win. As long as you are in the impact zone of that hand grenade, you'll be just fine. And certainly a lot of you guys have said things. But Tim, do you really need to go and confront somebody?
Well, I thought that that's what the activity was.
Well, it is. It is. It's about approaching them.
Right.
Yeah. So this location would mean that your approach is going to be very direct, and sometimes that's exactly what you need to do. You guys all know this. If you've done any kind of executive coaching, training, consulting kind of work, you know that sometimes you encounter that executive who is absolutely convinced that the sun rises and sets on them and they could do no wrong. And we are there as that external one to say, well, you know, your assessment skills are a bit off. And sometimes we just have to confront them with the nonsense.
Yeah, and I was looking at that T as expressive driver type energy.
Well, the expressive driver would be up here. It's because you rated your ability as a solid 10 and you gave the challenge as an 11. That's where you ended up there. Well, we would only be advocating that you kind of lean a little bit in grid from there. I mean, look where you're at. You're right on the edge of this perfect vertical bar. This is a great place for anyone to plot on any driver kind of activity. And so this is all good stuff. We just want you to be on this side of things instead of on that side of things. So throw a little amiable into it, and there you are, one little step away. So, you know, again.
Yeah. And the way I was looking at it is because we're talking about relationships with difficult people, to me, that just inherently means conflict. And it means pulling on, as you were explaining when you were pointing out 9-9, it means the ability to exercise that driver energy, but also that expressive energy, because there has to be interaction. I can't just go to that person and drop off an explosive and run away. There has to be an interaction, and it's going to be conflicting.
That's right.
And
However,
that's sort of what the rationale was.
Yeah, good.
Tim, have you ever had the experience where exactly what you said is what should happen, actually, right? Because there's conflict. But have you ever had the experience where that person turns into a paper tiger and they just don't want to admit that there was a problem, or don't admit that there was a conflict, and oh no, everything's fine. They don't have the ability. They're meeting you with the ability of a 2 or a 3.
Yeah, and I think that these activities can be situational.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
And so
it's frustrating, isn't it, when that happens?
Yeah, definitely.
Interestingly enough, that's kind of like the bread and butter of doing executive coaching or executive consulting, because that executive or anyone in that C-suite knows that one of the most dangerous things they can do for their future is to display any sort of weakness. And so their reflex is to defend, deflect. What's the other D? Deny, defend, deflect.
I'm talking about someone who just they're a paper tiger. They don't have, and they like to talk a big game, and then they can push people around as long as people allow them. But as soon as you push back, or you call them on something,
you're right. They end up crashing to the in-grid danger zone. The perpetrator suddenly presents as the victim,
or nothing, or they look at you like, "What are you talking about? There wasn't a." No.
Right. They get into that whole denial kind of situation. No, you're absolutely right. There are a great many people in very powerful executive positions who have no business in that role, and they know it. And so, so that this is going to happen a lot. Sometimes they're going to attack. you as the one who's supposed to help them. But sometimes they're going to decide to play the victim card. Instead, no one understands them. People don't realize what it is that you've gone through to be able to do blah, blah. You hear all of this sad story by these people that are in, they're no longer in the outgrid danger zone. They're dancing on the barrier. They're at this red spot. And remember, there's only one red spot. All 4 of these red spots are in fact the exact same spot. So it's very close for them to go from being this horrible, bossy bully to being the poor little victim who no one understands, blah, 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 right? We've dealt with this many, 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 many times.
Well, sometimes the paper tiger sends you their views in an email. Avoid the face-to-face, right, interaction.
Right, because again, their greatest fear is being exposed. As being someone who is not worthy of the position or whatever. And so we're the ones who are going to get very close to seeing their actual truth. We are very likely to see their truth before they see it, certainly before they're likely to acknowledge it. And so we present ourselves to them, or no, they perceive us as being a giant threat to them. And so we're unlikely to get the truth. We're unlikely to get that. So we got a lot of work to do out here. And that's why I was just saying, maybe that little dose of amiable can be useful when we're doing this little approach for doing that. And I guess one of the ways I'm thinking about it, and I'll see if I can create a hybrid. I need a person at the beginning of that approach to be equal parts diplomat, negotiator, protector. I need them to not just be friendly for the sake of being friendly or being diplomatic to the point that they give up everything. I need them to be able to come prepared to do what needs to be done, but maintain that diplomatic, professional sort of conduct.
That's a lot of agility.
There's a lot of agility. And again, this is why most people that sit in C-suites have very little reason for being there. Nevertheless, they got there one way or another, and that bodes very well for our businesses moving forward, because the more screwed up a company is, the more opportunity we have. So it's the lifeblood of our business.
Yeah, that's training that's needed. When you think about these, quiet quitting, great resignation, all these things and all these different conceptions of leadership styles, it just seems like this kind of thing in terms of managing oneself that Peter Drucker wrote back in 1999, that's a curriculum that is just never taught. They don't teach it in management school or business school.
Well, they don't. And the thing is that after the fact, if you want to do a training program along this line with the people who really need to have it, so leaders and executives, whatever it might be, they are the least likely to attend a training program. Why? But because they are concerned that their participation in a training program is going to give people some sort of evidence that they don't know what they know. They're weak in some way or another. So they need to avoid any kind of obvious personal growth effort for those fears. Now, the best ones among them kind of go like, well, of course I'm going to do personal development. Everyone should be doing personal development. They've kind of normalized it within the political structure of their organization, but still to this day, a great many organizations are more at that kind of red level in the spiral dynamic, and they're still trying to protect this myth of who they are and how it all works, the best way to run anything.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, they're not teal. They're not nothing like that's happening. All right, so we're at the top of the hour, so let me just share with you one last thing, and that is that what I want to do for next session is have you guys fill out the profile. Now, filling out the profile is going to send you your results immediately, so that when we're having this talk next time around, you can see where you fell on the ChangeGrid, and I can show you what the composite results kind of looked at. So that'll give you a better opportunity, I think, to understand a relative position between people create their own dynamic. So if one person on an issue, like speaking my personal truth, is very much up grid and another person is very much out grid, well, you can say that there's a dynamic between those two people when it comes to this subject that might end up becoming an issue later on, right? So if you're terrified to speak your truth, and the other way is you're a bully about speaking your truth, these two energies are in conflict with one another. Oh, what did I do here? I used the same activity twice. All right, I'll fix that. Anyway, so I'm going to send this to you. Now, one thing that I do want you to kind of give me some feedback on. Ultimately, this activity list is going to be shortened and deployed for the Oracle of the Self regular program that all of our explorers participate in. I think asking them to complete a 21 activity change grid is a big ask. That's going to take 15, 20 minutes. But if I narrow it down to 10 activities, maybe 12 activities, people can do that in 10 minutes flat. And I think they're going to be more likely to complete the profile and not feel overwhelmed by it. So at some point, we're going to have to choose whichever these, and we have to do this all the time, everybody. So it's kind of something we do in the Circle of Brilliance, where we just say, we've got this giant activity list. They're all good. We're not going to throw any of them away. But which 10 should we extract as the best for screening purposes, for capturing someone's attention, for provoking thoughts that leads to action? Which ones of these are going to be most useful in that regard? But for you guys, I think I'm going to send you all 21 of them and see where you end up. Okay, questions, thoughts?
You have faith in us. Can I ask, can I ask a question that might be controversial? I kind of have a problem. I notice how I didn't wait for your answer. Kind of have a problem with this personal truth. Do you really mean speaking your personal issue? Because truth is truth.
Well, but you have your personal truth is not only what we've considered to be true in concrete factual terms, but there are certain aspects of the truth that cannot be proven in concrete factual terms, like the way you feel about something, or a value that you hold, a belief that you hold. Those are also part of your personal truth. So you could say, we could say factually, A, B, and C are absolutely true. But even though those things are absolutely true, it is no less true that I find those facts to be repulsive.
Well, that's an issue. That's not a truth. A truth is a truth. If I can't prove it, then it's not a truth.
Well,
may I say something? Are you maybe will help? Do you really mean daring to really express yourself honestly as you are?
Right. Maybe instead of personal truth, I could say speaking my authentic beliefs, thoughts. Well, we need something that's more general, so it includes beliefs, values, all that. Where were your thoughts going, Dragon?
Well, I mean, this is something I wrote in one of my books, and I keep saying in my podcast. I mean, even Bruce Lee said it a long time ago for martial arts lovers, that expressing yourself honestly is very, very difficult for everybody to do. To really, without any attributes, any coating or whatever, but to dare to express yourself, because then you're able to give yourself out, to put yourself out there. You're vulnerable, etc. So daring to express yourself honestly as you truly are, that's how I understood this. So I was asking, that is very difficult to do for a lot of people.
It's very difficult to do.
It makes a lot more sense, though. I mean, it really gets to what you're saying, rather, because when you say speaking my personal truth, it makes me think it is concrete, it's not movable. But what Dragon, if I'm correct, is saying is this is honestly what I think. This is honestly where I'm coming from. That's not necessarily the truth, but it's honest and it's authentic and it's,
So we could modify the word from the issue is with truth.
Yes.
More so than personal.
Yes.
Oops, we've just been logged out, but you guys know what the activity is. So that's what we want to look at. But yeah, Anja, I would encourage you to just give some thought about whether or not your feelings are also part of your truth. Is it true that you are feeling?
You're not. Truth is truth to me. It's truth is
Right.
concrete, something that
Yeah.
you can prove, you
Mhm.
can demonstrate, there are facts and figures and analysis. Truth is
Mhm.
truth.
And
Yes.
your definition of it resonates very, very powerfully with a series of books that were written about whether or not people are living their authentic self, or whether they are doing what others expect of them, going through the motions. So it's talked about very much there that in order for something to be deemed as true, it must, or real, I think it's talking about reality more than truth, but I think those are two very much. You have to be able to describe it in terms of your 5 physical senses. You have to be able to achieve some general consensus among the population that what is thought to be true is actually true. Because if one person thinks it's true, but the rest don't, then no, you have to reach some sort of consensus
Right.
about that. And it has to withstand the scrutiny of deep analysis. If you can
No.
do those 3 things, now you've labeled something that is real. As opposed to something that is abstract. So it is true that inside of your personal, honest, whatever word we're going to use to replace truth, or maybe I just need to put truth in quote marks or something, because people do say this all the time, is that there are concrete things that are happening in life that are real, that are proven, that are tangible, that, blah, blah, blah. So those things are real, but I still also have my values, my beliefs, my preferences, my whatever. And those
Right, but
are
that's
part of
true.
my honest, but they're abstract, they're not real.
Right.
How about expressing myself honestly?
Well, if I open up the activity list again, there's another activity further down the list that I think gets more to what you guys are describing.
Okay.
That you really are being authentic and genuine. The thing that I'm hoping to get to in this particular activity, speaking your personal truth, is that you're not hesitating to tell people what you believe, what you think, what you see, what you know. You're not holding things back or couching things or whatever. You're just saying whatever it is that you feel needs to be said.
Okay.
Your truth, your heart's truth, if you will. Maybe that's what it is. Instead of reality's truth, maybe it's just your heart's truth. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, interesting. So by all means, this is the whole exercise of coming up or crafting the perfect activity list, is to really look at the different words that are being used and say that word is going to conjure in different people, different things, different images, different situations they've been in. What word is most likely to give us that more consistent interpretation that's going to give us a result that means something? Yeah. So yeah,
Can I
always help.
Can I just ask 2 quick questions, please?
Sure.
In the beginning, the sheet that you showed us, the talking to difficult people, did you send that at some time, or where can I find that? I'm sorry.
I did. Just 1 second. Let me see if it's still up here somewhere. But what I did was I chatted it over in the chat window.
Oh, I don't see anything.
I don't get any of that.
Really?
No, there's only LOL.
We're using my computer, T. It's not on hers. We're using my computer.
Okay, so what makes this interesting, I'll just email it over to you guys.
Thank you. And second
Please, yeah.
question was, I hope that can be present the next time. When is the next one? Is it next Monday?
Mondays, yes. This particular call, this is the Oracle of the Self. These calls are on Mondays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's dinner time for you though, right? Like 7
Yeah, the time is okay. Just that I'm so busy with work and my study and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. That's the Monday. Tuesdays and Thursdays are at the same time, but Tuesday and Thursday is the Circle of Brilliance. So we're looking at things from a different kind of angle. But you're certainly welcome to be on those calls as well. Never hesitate to join us.
Great.
Alrighty. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Take care. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you,
I
T.
don't want to go.